Hi, I have Nilay here with me today. Nilay works as a program manager in the Flutter DevRel team. Her work is specifically around Flutter events and community programs. She started working as a software developer and then became a project manager. Her volunteer work with user groups got her into the community world and eventually in Google. And she has been with Google for 4 years now. Nilay, thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today and welcome.
Hi, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Nilay, you're telling me offline that you grew up in Turkey, right? So
Yes.
it's like I mentioned to you, most of our listeners are from Brazil, and Turkey being far away from Brazil, but lots of similarities as well. Can you share with us a little bit of how was it to grow up in Turkey and how was the elementary school for you over there?
Sure. Yeah, I was born and grew up in Turkey, in a small city called Samsun. It's the north of Turkey, by the sea, by the Black Sea. So we ate a lot of fish when I was growing up. And then, yeah, during my elementary school, so my parents are teachers, so they just wanted me to go to a university, study something, and get a job. And then basically, this was the idea. So my story is not like I have been programming since elementary school or anything like that. It's not like that. And in Turkey, the university system is that we take an exam and then we get some uh, points from that, and based on those, we choose some universities and some majorities and study. And I just chose computer engineering, and it was not like that again. I was very interested in programming or computer engineering, but it was like, oh, this is a popular job, and then this is becoming a thing, and I just chose that. So this is my story. It's not very inspiring or anything, but yeah, this is how I got in this world.
It's interesting because it's very similar to Brazil, right? So people at the end of high school they have to go through a sort of an exam as well, and then based on the score they get to some of the universities that we have down there. So it's very similar to what you just described. And how
Yeah.
was university for you? How when you got university and you had your first experiences with technology and computer programming, what did you think, and how was the whole university experience for you in Turkey?
Right. So yeah, I we had a computer when I was at home when I was in high school. This is when we bought it. So it was a Windows XP, and then I was using Messenger and everything, and it was all the relationship with I had with the computers. And then since engineering and computer science is becoming popular, I I chose computer engineering, and I went to school, and it is literally everything was the things that I've never seen before in my life. So they showed us algorithms, data structures, programming language. The first programming language, Pascal. They taught us Pascal programming language, and then some C++, and everything. It was literally I was seeing them for the first time, and yeah, I was learning. It was exciting. It was different, and we were writing games, simple games, and then learning algorithms. But no one told me that I should have been really careful with the algorithms and the data structures courses, because in later they will be asked for in the job interviews. No one told me that, but then I took those courses and I didn't really care them. And then yeah, so it was a 4 years university. I finished the school, but of course, yeah, everything I was learning for the first time, and like now I had to find a job as a software developer because this is what they taught us in the university.
So how was it to look for the first job up there, right out of university, and so you're looking for working? I'm assuming that was in Turkey.
Yes.
How was it?
Exactly. So again, yeah. So I learned some programming, and so I did some internship because we had to do to finish the school. And then also in the last year of the school, There was an Erasmus program in Turkey. I don't know if you are familiar with that. It's like an exchange program. Some of the students in the Turkish universities go to Europe and they study in those universities. And then I was accepted in one of those in the fourth grade of the university, and it was a university in Denmark. But they asked me if I knew Java programming language, and I didn't know Java. I've never used Java. I knew some Pascal, some C++, and then I was talking with my professor. Then, like, she was asking me, Nilay, do you know Java? Because this is what they're asking. And I was like, how much time do I have? And then they say 3 months. Okay, I can learn Java in 3 months. So I found an internship in Turkey in a company that was giving Java trainings to the other people. And then, yeah, I did the internship there. I learned some Java and I went to Denmark. I did some work there, and when I came back from Denmark, that company hired me as a software developer.
Just amazing how the Erasmus program was important for you, right? So the exchange program that kind of helped you get the opportunity there for with the organization in Denmark, and then you got your job that way. And how is it? How is it? Sure. So I'm assuming you're programming in Java now, right? So how is it the first job, and how did that evolve from there?
Yeah, so I learned Java there, and then I started programming. But again, it was not really like so. Like I was like we were doing projects to the some companies in Turkey. This is how the company was working. And then eventually in the team, I was doing a lot of project management work. Like there's a lot of work. Customer asks us for things, and then we develop things. But I was eventually, like we need some trackers for those. Oh, no one is answering these questions to the customers. And then I was like, and then I realized, okay, yeah, I became a software developer. It is good, but I think I am better on this, like like on the other side, like coordinating things in the team in the project. And then so which means that I talked with my boss and said, look, I like this job better than programming. And what do you think? Do you think should I try being a project manager? And then he said, yes, of course, yeah, let's do that. And he sent me to a Scrum training in Turkey, and it was like now we are talking about 10 years ago, and that training was given by the creators of Scrum. um, they came to Turkey, they were giving the training, and I took the training from them. So it is like, yeah, I was okay in the programming, but I realized when I was doing the job, I was better at other things, or I enjoy doing other things better, like coordinating things, running the meetings, writing docs, and it's just like, okay, I should try this because I like this better. And then I turned to a project manager. I started working as a project manager after that.
So you're learning agile methodologies and Scrum, and then became a project manager. And how is it to combine your development skills, your programming skills, with the project management skills? How did that work for you at the time?
I think it helped a lot. So I'm so glad I started this journey by learning programming and getting my hands dirty with that and writing some projects, working as a developer, and then I I did project management because it helped me a lot to understand what was going on the projects. Like it was easy to talk with developers or with customers because I knew what they were talking about. It definitely helped me a lot. Yeah, again, I realized then that programming was not my favorite thing, but it helped me a lot. That experience helped me a lot to be more successful in the next thing for me.
And what about the challenge of being a project manager?
Are you asking challenges?
Yeah. So
Oh.
how is it the day to day of being a project manager and dealing with the issues? And like you said, nobody's tracking that topic, and somebody has to go to speak with the customer and deal with this and deal with that, right?
It's a lot of communication skills and communication, of course, because like there are people asking for things. There's a team who can do things, and if they can't do, no one can do that job. So they should be doing so. Their life also should be easier. They have clear requirements or like plans or some timeline like project plans and good communication with customer. And then in the past, like when without having a project manager in the team, that was harder because developers were trying to do everything. But being having a project manager in the team, it helped a lot for to everyone to be more productive. But of course, since I'm talking about so many people to talk, so many coordination, so many work, it requires a lot of organizational skills. And it's not really for everyone. If you don't organizing things or running the meetings or talking with people, that might not be very fun for you. I like that, but of course, people are also like challenging, right? So there were challenges around communications or wrong communications or talking with customers or like yeah, because I learned the job while doing that, and I learned from all my mistakes.
And how did the career progress from there? So now you're project manager, you're helping multiple organizations there to move forward. And how did it evolve from there? Did you move to the US at that point in time, or did you still spend some time working within Turkey before you switched to the US?
So that was the not last thing in my career step. I was still working in the same company. It was around like 2 or 3 years I was working in the same company, and then some people in the company, they were running some meetups, like events. They were using our company's room. They were coming together. Sometimes they were doing some hackathons and some hacking some projects or technologies in the evenings, or sometimes they were doing some talks. And yeah, so there were some meetups happening in our company's room, and then the developers in the company, they were giving talks, or other people were coming and listening to them. I was like, what is this? Why are these people doing that? And I eventually started going to those meetups and helping them because they also needed some organizational help. And then so they also needed some organizational help, and I started helping them. And again, they became happy. Oh yeah, someone is helping with the things that others like not everyone likes. So I started like finding speakers, creating schedules, or sometimes it's just giving out T-shirts to the people when they come. And then and it is just how I got involved in the communities and meetup world. And then every month I started going to the meetups, I started helping, and then eventually they accepted me as an organizer. I became the organizer in the meetup, and it was a Google developer group. So they were running meetups around Google technologies, and we were getting speakers from Google. I became the organizer, and then I helped them to run bigger events, and more companies were interested because now there were more promotions in the meetups, and then other companies were interested in coming, and Google eventually themselves found us, and they said, oh, you're running a meetup around Google technologies, we want to come there, the local Google office. And then they came and they did talks. So it was a Google developer group, a meetup group around Google technologies. And then our meetups group grew so much, and so many new people were coming, a lot of new developers, they were trying to learn Android then. And then Google, we learned that Google was just doing this new program, Google Developer Groups program, and they invited us to United States for a summit for their conference for Google I/O. And it was the first time I went to Google in US for an event. But I was still working as a project manager in the company. This was my volunteer work, the time that like in the evenings or weekends.
That's fantastic, right? So that's the power of the community. That's the power of the network, right? So you're helping others, and all of a sudden that opens an opportunity for you to come still as a visitor to participate on the Google I/O, but such an important event, right? So How was it? How was the experience of going to the US to participate on that Google I/O for the first time?
They invited all the Google Developer Group organizers to Google for Google I/O, and it was like for the first time I was there in the Google office. And before that, the all we see about Google offices was on the internet, right? All the awesome buildings, crazy activities, food, and all the cool engineers. And it was real, like we were there, and it was so exciting for me. Like I was so worried, I was so afraid to speak to other people when I see them there. But yeah, it was real. So yeah, we were there. They talked to us. Everyone was so nice. All the Googlers, they were like, "You're doing awesome. You're community people. You're running a community in Istanbul. It's a place that we won't be able to go ourselves, but you're running this meetup for us. Thank you so much." So there were a lot of good things they were telling us. It was really cool.
And how was it after that? So you took part on the Google I/O. You went back to Turkey, and you're kind of thinking,
Yeah.
that could be interesting coming to work for Google. Is it what crossed your mind, or what crossed your mind back then that
No,
motivated you to eventually make the move?
exactly. So actually, it's not like that because it was just so scary for me. Like I would never ever imagine that I would be able to work at Google someday. You know that all is it? I don't know what it is. Is it imposter syndrome or yeah? So it was still a big dream for me. But anyways, eventually I came back to Turkey. Of course, we learned a lot of awesome things, and then we started running more and more events, big events, much different things. We were running workshops to teach Android, and then there were a lot of young developers. They were coming to workshops and learning Android, and it became an amazing community in Turkey, in Istanbul, about Google technologies. And then a few years later, while I was continuing doing all the meetup stuff, of course, during that time I ran much bigger conferences. Now it was not just a meetup, but we ran a DevFest, and there was 2,500 people attended to that fest. It was a huge conference. It became a huge conference. And then a few years later, my husband got a job offer from US, United States, and then we decided to move to US. And I was still working in the same company that I first joined. And then I told them, okay, we are moving to US. That's it. And we moved to United States. I left my job. I left Google Developer Group, all the community work, all the network. Just imagine all the network and everything. I left there and I moved to US. And it was another very scary moment for me because just imagine that all the imposter syndrome again. Like, what am I gonna do here, right? I never worked in US. I can't speak proper English then, and then I don't have any job experience outside of Turkey. What am I gonna do? And we moved here, and then 3 months later, so I got my work permission here, and then I contacted the people at Google who were then helping us for the Google developer groups and invited us to US. Those people, I said, look, I'm here in the US. I left the GDG Works in Turkey. They are now all in Turkey. And I'm here. I'm looking for a job. Now, I have experience on project management and community. I mean, I know Google wouldn't hire me, but in case someone is looking for a community manager or something, just be aware. I'm looking for a job. And then a few days later, they called me back and they said, "Oh wait, like you did a lot of things in Turkey and in Istanbul, and we are looking for a community manager. And are you interested?" And that was like unbelievable. This is how I joined Google. All that community work I did in Turkey, like just somehow opened a new way for me in US, which I would never be able to imagine myself.
Isn't that amazing? Because all the help that you're providing to others kind of return your way, right? So you're organizing communities, you're helping others to learn and to evolve in their careers, and all of a sudden you move to the US, and here comes an opportunity to help you with your career path, which is absolutely fantastic. And so before we go into Google, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, being an immigrant, like I am an immigrant as well, right? So I moved from Brazil to
Mm-hmm.
Canada 25 years ago almost. How was it to move from Turkey to the US? You know, it's how the
Mm-hmm.
whole cultural shock, right? So we all go through that, right? So we all have similar experiences. But how is it to you to get there and say, "Holy cow! Here's a completely different country, different habits, and different language, and everything else." How did you feel?
Of course, it was definitely a huge move because it is first of all, it is very far. Turkey and US are completely far to each other, and different language, different culture. We moved here. I was going to the grocery store, and I was like I didn't recognize some of the things there in the grocery store. I was like, what can I do with these things? Or there were like different restaurants, and of course I was missing my family and the things I left in Turkey. But also I was excited that, oh, this is Silicon Valley, right? And I'm a computer science graduate, and this is the place for me. So many, I was like, I'm gonna see so many exciting things, but also this was hard. And also the imposter syndrome, it's real. So it was a huge thing, like, what am I gonna do here? How am I gonna find a job here? Why would people accept me here? Like all those things, and they are big. It took some time to get over these things.
And then you got to Google, right? So and here you are working for Google. How was it?
Mm-hmm.
How was the beginning? How was it joining Google and starting your career with the organization, and eventually you got to work with Flutter, right? The Flutter team over there.
Right, yeah, exactly. So they said, yes, yeah, it seems like, Google developer groups, community, and we need help to support Google developer groups in US. And I first joined as a contractor. It was a contractor role. And then I was so excited, and then but everyone was so nice. They were like, you know this, Nilay, you know this, like it is like you should trust yourself. Or I was afraid to speak English in the meetings or anything. I was like, but everyone was so nice. Like, no, you're doing great. You're awesome. And then I saw that it's really important to be nice to other people. And in Google, everyone is really, really nice. And I worked as a contractor for 2 years. I was supporting the Google developer groups in the United States. And then after 2 years, my contract was ending, and I started looking for a full time position in Google. This is when I saw Flutter. One is people in the community were started talking about like Flutter, like we want to learn Flutter, we want to get a speaker for Flutter. I was like, what is this Flutter? I heard I first heard Flutter from the community. And then I went to the internal system and looked at that. Oh, look, this is cool. And I saw they were hiring someone. And then I just wrote to them, hey, I'm now, I work as a contractor. I am looking for a full-time job, and I have this experience here in US. Let's talk. And then we talked, and they hired me as a full-time program manager.
That's fantastic, right? So now you are a program manager and you're helping Flutter. Can you tell our listeners a little bit of what's Flutter and what's the importance to the mobile development world?
Yeah, Flutter is a SDK from Google that you can build multi-platform applications from one single code base. What it means that, let's say that you have an Android app, and you want also have a iOS app, and or a web application or a desktop application for the same application. And in the like other traditional or native ways, you have to build each app separately, right? For iOS, you have to use Swift UI. For web, any web technologies, you have to build this web application from scratch. Or for desktop, again, you have to build another app with another technology. But what Flutter says here, we are giving you an opportunity to build the same app for all those different platforms from one single code base. You don't have to write separate applications for each platform, but you just write the Flutter app once, and it will run every platform in the same way.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. So you can produce your app for an iOS device or for an Android device. And more recently, I think you guys also are releasing the ability to be able to produce web apps and also even for Linux, right? So if I understand, like Ubuntu is looking to doing some of the, I think the installation software that they use for Ubuntu is written in
Mm-hmm.
Flutter right now, right? So
Right, exactly. So for web, it's in the kind of what they call it, not stable version. So I couldn't remember the version, but yeah, it's on the early stable release. Your mobile app can also work on web, and also for desktop, your app can work on desktop. And Ubuntu, also Flutter is an open source project. Google is not the only people or team building Flutter. Other companies or developers are also building Flutter, contributing to Flutter, and Ubuntu themselves built those things that you can easily write Flutter application for Ubuntu. They did those additional things themselves, and they, I think, announced that like they are announcing Flutter as their default desktop application build technology.
yeah. And so looking back, I think I mentioned to you, I wrote a small Flutter app, right? So and it's quite a great experience to be able to produce something in a relatively simple way and be able to deploy to the Play Store and make it available to thousands, millions of people worldwide, right? So which is a incredible experience for everybody. And going back and looking to Flutter and what you're doing there, and I think I mentioned to you when we're speaking offline, I was going to ask you that question. What's your favorite Flutter feature right now? Anything special that you like, or anything you wanna mention to our listeners that really excites you when you look at Flutter?
Yeah, actually there are a few things, but the things I like most is one is the hot reload, because it is really something all Flutter developers like, and it makes their life very productive and very easy. It's that thing that when you make any change while you're developing your app, your change will be on the emulator or on the device in a few seconds. You don't have to rebuild or wait longer time, and it gives you a lot of creativity and flexibility that you just change and see things. So this is one thing. And then another thing also, the ability to have the applications on a lot of different devices from one single code base.
When you think about starting your education in Turkey, right? And how do you see? Because you told me that you went through some Pascal learning and some C++, and eventually went through some Java learning in Denmark. And how important was the education that you acquired to the job that you have today?
So to be honest, like yeah, I'm not doing any Pascal or C++ work, and I told you again that I didn't really study too much about data structures or algorithms. So I wouldn't be able to say those things I studied that I'm using today. It's not true. But also I should also accept that those, because of the things I learned, like it always opened me a new thing. Oh, okay, I study computer science, so of course I worked on those areas that is related to computer science. I know what is a programming language. I know how to talk with developers. I understand some of the concepts. So it is kind of, yeah, I would be maybe able to learn that if I didn't go to university. It is possible, but yeah, they helped me to also to go to the next step.
Yeah, it was like the foundation, right? So even though you're not necessarily using those programming languages today, there was a foundation that was you were able to get back then that helps you in your job today. And can you tell us a little bit more about how is it to be a program manager working on the Flutter program? What kind of activities? I think you have a lot of involvement in the community as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Right. So yeah, I work in the developer relations team as a program manager. And what a program manager does at Google is it is like, imagine that they are like project managers, but you are responsible for the big programs. And and it can be in any project at Google. Like there can be program managers in any project or any technology. And I work in the Flutter DevRel on the community programs, which means that I am running the community programs for Flutter DevRel. And what are they? For example, we have a program called Flutter GDEs, Google Developer Expert Program. And there are amazing GDs out there. Like they are the people who are expert on Flutter and doing awesome contributions to Flutter outside of Google. And we have this program at Google, so we are able to support them and make them better and improve themselves, and also improve Flutter. So this is one of the program. I think about the strategy of this program. I think about how to run this program. I think about how to grow this program so it can run. And also we have another program called Flutter Meetups program. We just hired recently another community manager. So I now manage a team, not me anymore. And so Sarah, her name is Sarah. So Sarah is managing the Flutter Meetups program, and she is also thinking about like how we can help the Flutter Meetups so they can help other people. And this is what I do in the Flutter DevRel team. I am responsible for these kind of programs and also big events, right? Flutter does big annual summits every year, and this is also like in my scope. We work with the team.
That's great, and it's a huge community, right? So there's tons of people using Flutter to produce applications that are being used everywhere, which is really fantastic to see. And Nilay, looking back and think about the path you have taken, and think about the Brazilian community that are mainly the listeners over here of our podcast. And like I mentioned too, there's a lot of people right now still trying to learn and doing hello world and trying to understand, okay, is this thing for me, is programming for me, is technology not for me, or what do I do, how do I evolve on my career. And the challenge these days is there's so much information, there's so many options out there, that's it's a little bit of a challenge sometimes for people to figure out what path they should follow, right? What would you recommend to those people that are starting today, and what would you say, maybe explore this, explore that? What would you recommend to them?
Sure, yeah. The first thing I want to recommend is please don't worry. So yeah, you'll do that. You'll do great things. So first, please trust yourself, and then second, as you said, there are a lot of information, a lot of technologies, so many things available right now, and it's so hard to choose things. It will be so hard to find the best or right thing in the beginning. Just like if if you remember all my career path, like how I started, where I went through, and where I am now, it is not really like same thing. So you will eventually find the thing that you like most. And then so don't afraid to try things, but you have to start from somewhere. You have to start and try something and learn it. Like find something and then try to learn it and create an application or do something, and then decide, oh yeah, I like this, I want to continue with this, or no, oh no, like I want to try other things, or or they might open give you more ideas to try. So it's important to start from somewhere and stick with it, spend some time for it, and then eventually you will find something you like.
Yeah, it's a great recommendation, and trying to build something, and eventually you find your path, right? And talking about that and trying something, I saw in your biography that you're learning to play the violin, and I'm just wondering if you could share a little bit of us. How is it? How is that going for you? And what have you been able to learn and play so far?
Oh, exact. Thank you for asking that. So this is something totally new for me. I've never played violin in my life before. It was the first time I bought violin, and it was the first time I was touching a violin. And but of course, it is exactly how we learn things from zero. I first learned how to hold it, and then how to, and eventually, oh, like so how to make sounds from violin. It's not easy, but I spent hours to create that sound. And then I started watching some videos, and then after that I started taking a course from a teacher. It is hard, it's funny, but I like the effort that I give that.
And going back to skills and think about, you have a programming foundation, you have a project management experience, you have community coordination, you have program management experience, and you're learning violin. And I'm just wondering, how, do you feel that some of the programming and the math and some of the other skills that you have contributed to help you, evolve on your learning of playing the violin?
Yeah, I think so. It might help. You're right. It might definitely help. But to me, what I feel is that the most helpful thing is that not to afraid to start.
And Nilay, any plans for the future that you may be able to share with us? No secrets at all about Flutter whatsoever. That's fine. But any plans that you may be able to share? Anything that you maybe violin is not enough? You want to learn something else, or what kind of what excites you in the near future that you may want to jump in and try something else?
Yeah, of course, I can like. So who knows? No, I'm kidding. So of course, Flutter is growing. Flutter is actually still a young technology. It's been only a few years. Flutter is around, and there's an amazing community out there. People are so excited to use Flutter, and that is growing so fast. This is so exciting. Of course, Flutter is growing. This is also so exciting for us, and more opportunities for me. Here I am in the Flutter team. When I started 4 years ago for Flutter in the Flutter team, it was just me working on the communities and events and that stuff. Now, like, we hired a new community manager. I'm gonna hire another community manager, and then now I will be managing a team. That will be a different challenge for me. And then we will all see how Flutter grows, or how people feel about Flutter in next couple of years. We will see. For myself, I don't know. Who knows? 10 years later, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing.
Sounds like a good plan. I think exploring and seeing what life takes you is there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So it's you go on a path and you keep learning. I think that's what's really important, right? And talking about learning, do you have any recommendations about music or books or movies to our listeners?
Oh yeah, I am really bad at this kind of recommendations, but yeah, um, yeah, violin. If if you want to start learning some kind of musical instrument, I think you shouldn't delay it. You should just start and see how it goes, because it's fun. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. I'm really bad at those kind of recommendations.
It's all good. Do you want to make a Flutter recommendation? I think flutter.dev is the main website, correct? And
Exactly. Exactly. If you want to learn Flutter, the official Flutter documentation is a great place to start, because it gives you all the steps how to get started with Flutter. You will be installing the SDK. If you follow all the steps, you will have one app running on your IDE, and you will start adding things on top of that app, and it is very quick. There are also a lot of great courses out there that community created. For example, Andrea Bizotti, he has a great Flutter courses. The official Flutter YouTube channel is another also good resource.
yeah, it's a great resource, and that's why I learned the little bit of Flutter that I know, and that's great. And Nilay, would you like to leave any contact information, perhaps your Twitter account or something else that you want to mention to our listeners so they can contact you in case they have any questions or anything they'd like to talk to with you about?
Sure. I am very active on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is a couple of letters. It is NLYCSKN. And then you can always reach out to me by either a direct message, or you can mention me. I am usually very active and responsive on Twitter.
Perfect, thank you. And Nilay, before we close, I just want to again take a minute here to thank you for the time. It's a Wednesday morning. It's always Wednesday evening. It's almost what I'm saying. It's almost 7 p.m. in Pacific time, and we're here having this great conversation. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's very nice talking to you too.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Chegamos ao final de mais um episódio. Agradeço a todos a atenção e o nosso site é OsProgramadores.com. Participem e até o próximo episódio. Um bom dia para todos.